let's talk about developing a plan for what your group is going to look like. What are you guys going to talk about? What are you guys? What's going to be the activity of it? We have a wide variety of groups, whether it's an interest group that centers around a hobby or an activity, or a life group that really focuses on more of a Bible study type approach. Regardless of which type of group you are, the Bible and Scripture are central to what we want to sow into people's lives. The Bible tells us that the Word is a seed, and regardless of how much seed you're sowing in your group, it has to be a component. And so in order for that to happen, there's going to be some kind of structure, but there needs to be some flexibility. Every group might have a different level of flexibility or structure, but the best groups are sensitive to plan for both. Now, how do you have structure and flexibility? It sounds like these are two really opposing things, because structure sounds very rigid and maybe it locks you in, but to some, flexibility sounds like what? It's too loose and anything goes. Listen, there are positives to both of them. My body is both flexible and it is structured. Your body, it's flexible and it is structured. Your bones help your body stand, but your joints give you the ability to move. And your muscles they can grow, and you know what? And they can contract and they can release. Your lungs were designed to inhale and exhale. And so there is a plan in place for everything in life. So we don't just fly by the seat of our pants, but there is flexibility. There's structure and there's flexibility. A good plan provides structures that lead to your objectives being achieved. And flexibility provides opportunity for people to just be themselves when they're with you. And I have found that a healthy group is good at knowing when to provide which one, structure or flexibility, and then how to provide and be ready for both. And when we look at Jesus, we see that Jesus himself led with structure and flexibility. In fact, at one point, Jesus states that he was called to the lost sheep of Israel. There's a structure, it's a plan. But he still made room for the Gentile woman who came to him asking for him to heal his daughter. And Jesus said, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of Israel. And of course, she pleads with Jesus, and Jesus says, you know what, your faith has made your daughter whole. Jesus right there steps out of his own stated plan to serve Israel, and yet makes room for the Gentiles. We also see that Jesus forsook his own intentions in order to respond to others. One day he's walking on the water, and the Bible specifically says in Mark 6, it says he intended to go past them. But when they saw him, he turned and came back. And so sometimes, you know what, our plan wants us to go one way. We have our plan. Jesus had his plan, but we still need to be open to what the needs are for the group. What do you do for the person who comes into your group and, you know what, life has just beat them down this week? They just received the worst news they could have imagined. But we're here to do the plan. We've got to make room for that stuff. Good, healthy small groups make room for the unpredictable things that life can throw at us. Jesus also did not dismiss sin. Sin is sin. Right is right, wrong is wrong. But Jesus also did not condemn people. And so he said, all right, let those who have never sinned throw the first stone with this woman who was caught in adultery. He didn't say she didn't sin. So guys, what I'm saying is that there should be a plan in place, and things should be made clear. Standards should be upheld. But you've got to make room for the flexible things that come into people's lives. It's why I encourage many young group leaders, and even some old ones, to consider our talk it over group model. Talk it over groups just talk about what was taught this past weekend. Most people in our church who attend a small group saw the message this weekend. And they probably have some questions about it, or they have some experiences that relate to it that they would love to share with some people. Talk it over groups, they're structured to address that facilitating conversation thing that we talked about in our last video, because they ask questions that make group members think. And together, you're able to really navigate what God is saying to our whole church and to each individual. And you know what? We always view that weekend message through the lens of what is happening in our lives. So it is structure and it is flexible. It's not the only way, but it's a really great way that we encourage you to consider. But regardless of what type of group you lead, we encourage you to have a structure and be ready to be flexible.